Hey, I am Brandon Beliso. It is Friday, March 12th, and it's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time right here on the West Coast. This is Success Never Sleeps, where we, as a collective, try to figure out this thing called life. We are martial arts school owners predominantly, other small businesses as well. But it really is trying to figure out our version of success and making sure all the moving parts are working well together, optimized to create a business that provides us with financial freedom, personal freedom, time freedom, the things that we always dream about, why we open a business. Yet for so many, they simply create a job for themselves and they're a terrible boss. So we really try to dig deep on all the different areas of your business, whether it's branding, systems, team building, leadership, social media, budgeting, all that. I mean, it takes so many different things. And I understand from my personal experiences, I wear a lot of hats and I need to wear them really, really well. Cool. So let's begin by thanking our sponsors. As you come aboard, say hello. Tell us where you're tuning in from. Our sponsors are Tucson, Market Muscles, My Studio, Kids Love Life Skills, LC Accounting, and Kin Creative. Again, people I'll work with, people that I will vouch for, right? People that I will vouch for. And if you want more information, just reach out to us personally. Of course, our It's Time Group Mentoring, they just had their weekly meeting. I think what's unique about the group that we produce is we are school owners. We are active business people, right? We're not just hypothesizing behind a glass desk about what you should and should not do. I mean, we're in the trenches. We're testing this stuff in real time. And for me, that makes a huge difference in the ability to offer you real advice based upon real data that can help you great results. So if you're looking for mentors, not a consultant, then reach out to anybody on our team here in DM, Marco, Monique, Jason, or I. What do we have coming up? In November, it's Time Live United. 20 school owners will come from around the world. They've come as far as Germany, Switzerland, to spend 4 days with us. It is a retreat. It is an intensive. We really get to the heart and soul of what's going well in your business and the heart and soul of the things you need to work on. And so it's a very unique experience. This is our 9th year. Can you believe it or not? And as soon as you see this one go live, I would highly recommend, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in what you're doing, and you believe that you want to take things to the next level, then join us. Join us. So what is it all about today? Self-talk, man. This is a big one. I know for me, the reason I think this is so valuable, yet it's overlooked in not just our industry, but many industries, is because it doesn't produce instant results, right? It doesn't increase my profitability. It doesn't get me 10 more students. And it is very soul searching. It is very cumbersome. It is very deep. It's heavy. And most people don't want to live in that space, right? To get to the good stuff. But I, fortunately, have been blessed to recognize that early on in my life. And I've spent a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of suffering, a lot of pain to get to where I am today. And I still suffer from the condition of being human. And often I found myself in self-talk. So today's topic is self-talk, the path to success or sabotage. What does that mean to you? As you come aboard, say hello, put it in the comments. And those of you at Facebook Live watching this, you can comment too, and Marco will pick it up. What does that mean to you, right? Self-talk. It's no different than self-respect. It's no different than self-discipline. It's no different than self-control, right? You really try to master yourself, including the way you speak to yourself. And for me, the most important conversation I will ever have is not necessarily with my wife, a parent, a team member, my accountant. Really, the most important conversation I will ever have is with myself. So think about that for a moment, because I understand that every decision I make on a daily basis for my business and financial decisions and stuff has to come from me and me alone. I can seek out the advice of everybody, but ultimately we're all going to do what we want. Do you agree? We are all going to do what we want. And sometimes that voice will push you forward and say, you can do this, you got this. Other times, self-doubt creeps in, self-loathing, right? I've said this many times and I believe it for a fact. I am my own best friend. I am my own worst enemy. And every day I wake up, I make that choice. I make that choice. It's kind of like the red dog, blue dog theory, right? Red dog is the worst parts of me, right? I'm my own best friend. I'm my own worst enemy. That red dog is my worst enemy. Blue dog, I'm my best friend. So when I wake up every day, I think the big thing when managing self-talk is to feed yourself, not a line of BS, right? Which is rooted in ego and narcissism and insecurities. No, no, no. I'm talking about humility. I'm talking about a deep sense of empathy for oneself, that you're honestly talking to yourself about what you're doing well and what you can do better. And that's something you can always count on with a good friend, right? Your best friend is going to be the person at the party when you have food on your face is going to look at you and go, you have to be that for yourself, right? Because sometimes being your own best friend is pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. And most of us don't want to go there because that journey, that cultivates good, positive self talk is inward. And you have to be willing to go inside, pull back your own covers, right? And take a hard look. That foundation, when I began that process, I could only realistically replace the old negative self talk with positive self talk. Because what I recognize when we talk about sabotage, stay with me, is that self talk probably wasn't yours, right? Think of us that are parents when our child is born. They're perfect, right? That's perfect. All three of my kids, when they were born, I looked them in the eye and I went, wow, they're perfect. And then one day somebody said, good Brandon, bad Brandon. Okay, first set of values here, right? That established the self talk. If I do ABC, everybody approves of me. If I do DEF, everybody will disapprove of me. So that's not really my own talk, is it? It's somebody validating my actions or discrediting my actions. So I needed to recognize that. But with that, I think the second layer is really embracing the fact that some of what they offered me was good, sound advice, and I should heed that as well. And that's where humility becomes a very, very, very big life skill in this process. I think the challenge in Western culture is when we hear the word humility, we think of humiliation. Automatically, we think of humiliation. And that's why there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. There's a lot of finger pointing at social media. There's a lot of ego. There's a lot of divisiveness because nobody's humble enough to say, I'm accountable. No one's humble enough to have a good self-control and goes, well, I don't need to say this here. So that's why I think humility is one of those life skills I practice and I continue to master on a daily and as a life commitment. I think the other one in there is discipline, right? Discipline's a big one because, again, when we hear the word discipline in a Western culture, we think of being disciplined. Hey, what's happening, Bob Poole? Goals Martial Arts, Herman, Impact. What's happening, gentlemen? Welcome to the show. Today we're talking about self-talk, right? Self-talk. And it's James, resilient martial arts. It's a resilient day in the Rockies. Yeah, the Bible speaks of this as faith in seeing things that they already are. It also says to be honest. Most of all, only apply this to others, not ourselves. Yeah, I try to be brutally honest with myself, but here's where I can go off the cliff, James. I can go down that rabbit hole of victim mindset, of self-loathing, of poor me, poor me. So I'm mindful that type of being honest with myself is important, until I head down the negative road with it, right? Because the realization of the honesty, when it kicks in that you suck, just for the lack of a better word, you suck, is not a good day, right? For any of us, let alone being the master of the school, and let alone being the leader of the band, let alone being the patriarch in the house and the breadwinner and all those different things, right? They can really play in, but I've really gotten to the point, where I'm very humble and honest with myself and extremely disciplined with that. Because discipline, again, in Western culture means punishment. But in other cultures, discipline is a way of life. That's why we do martial arts, right? It's a disciplined art. And to carry that into your self-talk is really, really vital. Okay, so I make every decision in my business. And I know it is inspired, triggered foundation wise, it's rooted in my personal self-talk. So I want to be mindful how I can take my self-talk and let it really be a positive but honest, right, James? I got to be accountable. It can be very positive and honest to really be a stepping stone to learning things well, efficiently, and allowing me the opportunity to be better in all aspects of my business. So, if I think about it to begin with, the most important conversation you'll ever have is your inner dialogue because it shapes your confidence, leadership, and decisions. So take a moment, and I'm going to give you a moment in silent reflection. Think about the self talk you offer yourself on a daily basis. Now, there's two of them, there's conscious and there's subconscious. And the subconscious is the harder one. You know how I recognize subconscious self talk? When I'm halfway into a whole ream of Chips Ahoy cookies. That's when I would go, how the hell did I end up here? I mean, like, this food I don't even want. How did I end up here? That self-talk was happening subconsciously without any awareness on my part. So for a moment, I want to challenge you. And if you want to put it in the comments, I'd appreciate that a lot too. What type of self-talk do you offer yourself every day? What are some of the things you say to yourself? Go. I'm inviting you. Be vulnerable with me, people. Right? Be vulnerable with me. What is some of the self-talk you offer yourself? Well, while you put yours in the comment, I know mine is I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this wealth. Emotionally, spiritually, mentally, financially, relationship wise. It's lonely at the top. It's me against the world. Poor me, poor me. Nobody understands me. I've got a laundry list and I recognize them. I recognize those triggers. Am I doing enough? Yeah, that's a good one, Bob, right? Am I doing enough? I used to sing that one and I've replaced it with I'm doing my best. Yeah, because negative, am I doing enough, creates doubt. I'm doing my best creates positivity, right? And you're more sure of who you are and the actions that you take. Put some more in there. I think another one for me, having been growing up poor, right? Growing up poor, I often think I have the imposter syndrome. I go through that one a lot. I keep feeling like the kid on welfare and food stamps in the foster home. You know, I went through that big time when I spoke at Harvard. I said, they're going to expose me. I don't have a college degree. What am I doing here at this event at Harvard speaking? They're going to realize I'm a fake. And then I switched gears really quickly because I had to speak in like the next 20 minutes. I switched gears quickly and said, you didn't ask to be here. They asked you to be here. You didn't force your way in here through, trickery and lies. They invited you here. And so I had to really catch myself, right? Catch myself. So I'm mindful of it. But those things that are there, you know, it's all rooted in the lies that we tell ourselves. The lie is the solution is marketing, my competitor down the street, the weather, the economy. What I tend to do when I start lying to myself is I go after things that I am not in control of, right? The things that I'm not in control of, because I can never control them. If anything, it feeds into the negativity and the lies of self-talk because it can never offer a solution. It loves it. Oh God, that red dog loves it when I feed it. When I feed that part of me, my negative side, it loves it. Please give me anything because I'm starving. You keep me dormant. You're always over here playing with this good, positive self-talk, right? So I sit there with that negative one, and all I got to do is throw them Ritz cracker, and it's like a porterhouse steak. It's off and running. It's off and running. But like I shared, with that, it puts me in a victim mindset. And the true victim mindset are things I'm not in control of, right? Somebody once said that to me during the pandemic. Well, it's the pandemic, but we can't change that. So we went virtual and we're running 750 students. It ended up being 1,000. We survived the pandemic and here we are. right? 40% of we lost, 30 to 40% of Marshall schools we lost because people were dealing with the uncertainty, which fed into the self-talk, which fed into the self-doubt, which fed into all of it, which created their version of success, which was failure at that time. So I'm mindful about the lies we tell ourselves. And when I find myself putting the blame on something I'm not in control of, I have to check that right away. So ask yourself that one for a minute, okay? Do you ever find yourself blaming things, people, or situations for your current state that you are not in control of? Anybody, go. The one about blaming the competitor down the road, that one is just laughable at this point for me. Anybody? Put it in there. So I want you to think about that. The lies that we tell ourselves, the lies that we tell ourselves, because lying is easier than being honest. That's it. Write it down. Lying is easier than being honest, because in a lie, everything's the way I want it to be. I'm Mr. So-and-so, I do so-and-so, and I do this and that and this and that. And I think that's the problem with the advent of social media. People have become masters at fabricating lies, which definitely does not contribute to positive self-talk. The imposter syndrome is super popular, right? It's super popular. So when the truth is exposed, we conveniently say, this is fake news, right? Because there's three things going on at social media that feed into my self-talk. One is information, okay? Information. How do I know it's information? Because I did my research, I did my homework, several different, sources. You got to go deep now. You really, really do. And then the next one is misinformation. And that's information I don't even check on. I take it fast value because I'm scrolling through my feed. I see something, it creates an emotional connection, and I'm off and running. Oh God, I've done that many times. But the scariest one is disinformation. Disinformation is when the spin doctors, as they used to call them back in the days, on purpose, by design, strategically, spin it to suit their narrative. Well, guess what? You do that every day, even more so now than ever, because our self-talk is often stimulated by the habits that we exist in every day. We've all sat there scrolling through our feeds, every one of us at one point or another. I just walk around the airport, right? Whether it's a YouTube video, a TikTok, or whatever that might be. So subliminally, we're being fed information, misinformation, and disinformation every day. And for many people, that's their operating system, right? Information. I have high cholesterol. Misinformation. There's nothing I can do about it but take Lipitor. That's what the pharmaceutical companies say. Disinformation. Well, it's not cholesterol at all. That's the issue. It's the inflammation. Well, all of that sounds true on paper, but unless you do your real homework, high cholesterol is just a bad day. And there's great healthy ways you can mitigate that if you don't want to take medication. And if you believe it's inflammation and not the cholesterol by itself, then, I would be challenged by that too. So that's classic. Our brains are wired that way today, much like kids are learning differently because they are purely a tech generation now. They are purely post-pandemic. They are purely, device driven, right? So that's self-talk. Information, misinformation, disinformation. You could write 3 columns like that on a piece of paper, people, and start writing your daily habits. You'll catch yourself all the time. And when you can do that, there's a unique opportunity. The book by James Clear, Habit Stacking, was a great book because when I am in that space and I find myself halfway down a ream of Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookies, I put them down and go for a walk. Immediately. That's called habit stacking, right? Because it's scary when I find myself in the middle of eating, Chips Ahoy cookies and I'm halfway into a ream and I don't even know how I got there. I don't. And if you were to ask me how I got there, you know what my lame answer would be? I don't know. Because I wasn't paying attention. So I think the thing about good positive self-talk for me is I'm always paying attention to where I'm at. It's a system of checks and balances. And sometimes I need to check in, right? Check in, they say, all the time. I'm checking in with myself all the time, all the time. And here's the image I like using. We've all seen the scales of Lady Liberty. It sits like this, right? My goal is to stay here, balanced, in a state of equilibrium. But when chaos, trauma, misfortunes, everything that goes on around us, if I'm running to one end of the scale and one end of the scale and one end of the scale and one end of the scale, I will never right my ship. I will never end up here, ever. I need to balance myself instead of just going through the motions. And we've all done that, right? We've gone through a day and done all these things and got nothing done. Nothing done. Ate crappy, spent too much time, on devices, didn't really connect with people well, taught okay classes. We've all been there. We've all done that. Well, don't do it anymore, right? You know that doesn't work. The hard part is now getting honest enough with myself, real honest with myself, to say fundamentally what it changes, right? Because when I face the truth, when I get really honest myself, here's what surfaces to the top: shame, guilt, or doubt. Or doubt. None are good, right? Nobody wants to feel guilty. Nobody wants to feel ashamed. And nobody wants to feel doubtful. Well, guess what? It's a condition of being human. You can never avoid it. Cool? And I see more people coming aboard. Say hello. I want to know that you're with us today as we sit in this very vulnerable place, right? Sit in this very vulnerable place. I've been on this talk a couple of groups this week, and you guys are like my summary of everything I've learned as I do deeper thinking, deeper research, deeper evaluation for myself. So I was listening to Brene Brown the other day, her book on imperfection. And she said, there's guilt and there's shame, right? Guilt is healthy. Why? Because a good person will do bad things. And a good person will feel guilty for their actions. Where a person who's shame-based, right? They're ashamed of who they are as a person. They're ashamed of the actions that they take. They're just shame-based. And I don't want to live in shame. Guilt is fine, because guilt is a path to accountability. Guilt is a path to awareness and enlightenment and reckoning. But you got to work through it, right? You got to work through it to get to the other side. And that's really, really hard. When I'm feeling ashamed, or I'm feeling in guilt, or I'm feeling in self-doubt, nobody wants to be there. That's what comes with being honest. If you're brutally, that's why you're going to talk about cliches. If you're brutally honest with yourself, guess what? It's painful. It's funky. It's messed up. And if you've been stuck at 100 students for decades, that's because you suffer from a fixed mindset. It is more painful to get honest with yourself about what needs to change in your business than it is to exist in that state. Why? You know exactly what to expect. You had 100 students this year. Next year, you have 100 students. The year after that, 100 students. The year after that, 100 students. You know that song. You've played that song in the jukebox a million times. But if you're really going to get to whatever version of success you believe you deserve, that you believe you're worth, not entitled to, that you're worth, that you're ready to do the real work, then you have to get honest. That's the first step. For me, the big one with this, when I end up in a place of negative self-talk, there's a lot of triggers that go on. And you guys might be able to help me with this and vouch for this. One of my big triggers, I think, for all of us is when a student quits. Oh, God. When a student quits, I blame them. Crappy parents let their kid quit, and then I go down, I'm an awful instructor. We suck. I can't fight my way out of a wet paper bag. It's just a lot of that. Those promote all the negative self-talk in the world. Another one is when a parent complains. Oh, that's a big one, right? For all of us. And you can put yours in there. I want to know yours too. What are your triggers, right? When a parent complains, that's a huge trigger for me. Huge trigger, right? I want to point fingers at my team. The customer is always right. I'm looking for somebody to blame. When reality, if I was proactive, it's probably because we lack a system. It's probably because we lack training. It's probably because we lack a process that's going to empower the team to be able to assist effectively when a parent has a challenge, or I haven't delegated it to the right person. Yeah, I'm really, really, really good about that one right now. If a parent comes up to me and wants to talk when I'm in between classes, other than a hello and an acknowledgement, I will often send them, please post it in a message in my studio, or please email support@onemartialart.com, because they are well versed to better serve you than I have no challenge with that at all, because I want to be mindful of that process when a parent complains, because I do want to rectify it. I absolutely want to address when a parent's upset or is not happy with our service. Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, sometimes with the advent of Chat GPT, I can go in there. If a parent has a complaint, I can cross my T's, I can dot my I's, I can take out any emotional, negativity that exists on my side because I feel inadequate, I feel doubtful, and ChatGPT will tighten that thing up. So in a court of law, it's on point. And that's important too, right? When you can remove emotion from some of these conversations because the parent is obviously in an emotional state, then your success rate will increase tremendously. Don't fight fire with fire. No, like Ed Parker said, do not oppose force with force. Allow the force to defeat itself. Same thing here. But ego, which is the driver of negative self-talk, wants to step in for you there and act out, right? Act out. So I think that's a big one. That's a trigger for me. A big one for me is comparison. Oh, this guy's got 20 schools. I've only got 2. But my 2 schools make as much as 10 of his. Oh, all that rational BS. It's just a waste of time and energy. But comparison is very human. These are just conditions of being human. But if we're aware and we recognize, we can turn the negative into a positive. So comparison is a big one for me. Financial pressure. Oh, man. Financial pressure. I just shared that with you. I went to, I didn't share this with you, but I will. I just went through imposter syndrome with my financial. My poor niece passed away last week. And I haven't said anything because I tend to keep these things private, but I need to do a post for her and letting her friends know. And so she was part of the system, welfare, food stamps, programs, all those things. And I, as a child, grew up in the foster care system for a number of years in my early years. And so food stamps, welfare were very common language for me. You say welfare, it sounds like Sesame Street. You say food stamps, we're talking Popeye the Sailor Man. It was very normal for me as a child growing up, but I haven't had those types of conversations or even associated myself with those words at all. But in advocating for my niece and her children and the different things, I've been talking to social workers, right? So all these triggers came through and I felt poor again. I felt doubtful. I felt fear, that I have no money. And then I spoke with my financial guy, Sam on. He says, Master Beliso, you're fine. I said, I understand that, but I don't feel that way. My self-talk is telling me I'm an imposter. I was born into poverty. I should still be poor, right? And he says, well, you're not. I said, I understand you're saying that, but I still don't hear it. Are you with me on that? That's how powerful negative self-talk can be. And so fortunately, I've worked through that, check my bank accounts, look at all my financial investments and stuff. Okay, I'm cool. But it took, I've been knee deep in this for about a month. My niece just passed away last Saturday. So I've been knee deep in it, and it's triggered so many things. So what was the lesson learned there? That negative self-talk is always there because I'm human. It will never go away. It will always be there. And it's how I manage it. It's how I habit stack. It's how I approach it that's going to determine where I end up on that. Now, people say, well, what is it? The hell does this have to do with retention, getting 10 more students, everything? It has everything to do with it. Everything. Because if you, as the leader of the band, right, as the head instructor, as the owner of the business, is the best example to inspire people, then the sky's the limit. And I've learned that firsthand. The way me and my guys used to talk to each other growing up was we went on the mat and we kicked the shit out of each other. And whoever, was left standing, then we do it your way. That's so barbaric. That's so lame. You cannot build a team that way. And it's so crazy because when I sit with TJ and we communicate at such a high level now that it's pretty amazing. But it all begins with how I wake up in the morning, what self-talk, I'm going to talk to myself, and what state I'm in. Because we're always going to have to deal with challenges in our business, financial hardships in our business, people quitting, parents leaving, students quitting. We're going to have to deal with all those things all the time. And if the self-talk is negative, it's going to be harder to negotiate that space and find logical, successful solutions, right? It's going to be very challenging with that. So I want you to be mindful about that. So that inner voice, ask yourself, nobody's posted in there, I'm asking you to be brave now. Your inner voice, is it positive or negative most of the time? And what are some of the things you say to yourself? Go ahead, put it in the comments. And as you're coming aboard, do say hello. Do say hello. I read so many books on self-help, and you see, the biggest most successful people work with a Tony Robbins. They work with a mentor. They have some type of spiritual practice because they recognize the world at large can infest their thinking, right? But the yin to the yang of that, as I shared, is we can narrow our mind into this very opinionated, critical, finger-pointing mindset that where I'm right and everybody's wrong because I feel safer there. And that's one of our brand absolutes in our business is we don't want to be right. We want to get it right. Because me needing to be right is ego-based, which is negative self-talk for me. Because there's a big difference between ego and good self-esteem. Huge difference. One is really earned. One is very honest, empathetic, disciplined. The other one, it's a free-for-all of negativity, of trauma, of negative experiences through life. So ask yourself, what is your inner voice today? And better yet, are you seeing results with that inner voice? Is that inner voice yielding you a state of happiness, of financial freedom, of growth in your business? Is it doing that? If it's not, I might want to investigate and invest heavier into that inner voice and make sure that I'm aware. Because like I said, the subconscious inner voice is the one that's the scariest. Because it is when you find yourself eating, full ream of Chips Ahoy cookies, that's my metaphor, and you don't even know how you got there. You don't even know how you got there. Or when you do something inappropriate or lame and somebody addresses you and says, why did you do that? And your only answer is, I don't know. So that subliminal self-talk, which we don't even recognize exists, is one I'm digging deep to. That to me is the deeper, because those are the things sitting in the recesses of my brains, deep at a cellular level, that I need to address, because that's the next jump, right? To hyperspace, to getting to be a better version of me. So post it in there. Somebody help me out. Anybody? I want to know about that inner voice. Does it lift you up or does it tear you down? Be brave, people. Be brave. We're all in this together. All right. I'm going to keep encouraging you. So the goal isn't to eliminate self-doubt completely. You will never eliminate doubt, ego, negative self-talk. Never. Because we all are human. The goal is to embrace our humanness in a loving, positive way. Case in point, I know I'm filled with doubt. That's it. I recognize that. So let's just take lazy, right? We can be lazy, all of us at times. Well, how am I going to heal that part or change that part of me if I address it with shame? No, maybe growing up, parents said, you're lazy. You're a lazy person. Get up off your butt. Get a job. Go to work. Do something, right? So that's the tape that plays in your head. right? But instead, imagine if you can embrace that with love. What's great about being lazy? I'm really good at relaxing. Yeah, me too. I grind, I work hard. So when it's time to chill, I'm really good at chilling, which recharges my battery, which is a good thing. I'm no longer sitting there. We've all been there. Stay with me now. Who's ever been there sitting there doing nothing and felt guilty about it? Right? Right? Because we've all had that one, right? We've all had that one, Bob. Am I doing enough? Oh, God. But when I need to chill, the yin to the yang, when I need to balance myself, I need to chill well. I got to chill really good. I got to love it. I've earned it. I've deserved it. Unplug, from social media. Turn off that computer. Watch this good movie with some popcorn, right? Whatever that might be. And that I've started doing a little more. I like going to movie theaters because I have to turn off my cell phone. I can't have my computer in front of me. And I sit there and enjoy the movie and eat a little popcorn with my son, right? So again, I recognize, I used to say this negatively, I suffer from the condition of being human, right? That's self-talk. I suffer from the condition of being human. What a victim. You know how great it is to be a human being? You could be a freaking ant, right? Or a banana slug. But you're a human being. You have the ability to feel, intellectualize, and exist on such higher levels. Yet, we choose not to, right? We choose not to. So I want to be mindful of that I am human and I'm going to embrace my humanness with a deep, deep sense of conviction and love. Because the only way you're going to heal or change those parts of you do not like is with love. Nothing else. The more I become aware of it, the better I can respond to it, especially when it comes to my triggers. Now, you know me, this is a little weird, but normally when we know a student wants to quit, the industry teaches us what? Set up a meeting with the parent, refocus, re-energize, recommit, get them in the office. And if that doesn't work, tell them what a crappy parent they are for letting their child quit, because they're going to quit everything else and be 35 living in your garage playing video games. Well, we don't. We don't. And I'll explain why. But when you quit, first thing we do is write you a thank you postcard. Thank you for allowing us to serve you. If you ever want to continue your martial arts journey, we'll be right here with open arms. We follow that up with an email as well. And then I immediately, if I'm there that day teaching, if I know somebody quit, I go onto that mat and I love on those students. I teach at such a level that equates to getting through my insecurity, that I'm a crappy teacher, and that imposter syndrome. They quit because I'm a crappy teacher. They quit because my curriculum sucks. They quit because I can't fight my way out of a wet paper bag, right? All that goes through my head. And so the different habits we put in place when those triggers arise are very, very important. So if you have a trigger, put it in there, and together we'll come up with a solution. All right? If you're willing to put in one of your triggers, please do so. And as you're coming aboard, I still see people sitting up there. Say hi. I know this is a sensitive subject, but do you believe it's going to improve your retention? Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you believe that's going to endear your team to your purpose? Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm human. I make mistakes. I'm not a victim. I made a mistake. I apologize. Here's the course correction. Together we can, right? Huge difference. Huge difference. I don't want anybody putting me on a pedestal, because then it's a bunch of smoke and mirrors to preserve that image they have of me, or even worse, the facade that I built of who I think I am, right? I don't want to mess up with their image of me, right? I don't. So I come clean. I'm transparent. I'm honest, because we're always making moves in our business. Change is the key to remain relevant in your business. Change is the key to growth. And as I shared at the top of the broadcast, if you're 100 students 10 years ago, 100 students 5 years ago, 100 students today, it's because you suffer from a fixed mindset. It's familiar. You know exactly what to expect. Change is painful. Well, guess what? So is positive self-talk, because you got to get real. You got to get honest. You got to get down. Right? So think about those triggers, because those triggers are a big one to setting myself back. right? When I have negative self-talk, I blow money on marketing I don't even have. When I have that negative self-talk, I go out and buy something I don't even want. And that can impact your business greatly. How many bad moves have we made in our businesses? Probably too many to count. And if you really reflect, when you made that decision, when you spent that money, it probably wasn't because you were level-headed and you had the vision to see that this choice will get you to the next level of your business. They say that one all the time. When the student is ready, the master will appear. So many times in my life, I was not ready. I was unbalanced. I would hire a consultant, a mentor, whatever, and just I wasn't ready. So nothing you told me was ever going to work, right? It just gave me one more thing of negative self-talk. That didn't work. His program doesn't work. That consultant doesn't work. Well, if you stop to think about it, the one variable in all of that is you. Reality check, right? Reality check. And when I talk to people about it that are just maybe in the beginning stages of this, especially in the way it's impacting their business, oh, the pushback is tremendous. Tremendous. You know why? That red dog wants to get fed. Hey, what do you mean? You're going to stop feeding me? What do you mean? Yeah, I am. I try not to feed my red dog my negative self-talk at all. I feed this blue dog. He's my best friend, my buddy, helps me be the best version of me. It gets me closer to God, allows me all these amazing things. But I have to have the discipline to stay with it. But I have the balance to sit here to recognize both of them are there. And some of them are equal value. When I do something negative, bonehead self-talk, and I take accountability and I make amends and I apologize, whether it's to myself or somebody else, and I make course correction, that is very empowering. But it's the type of work that most of us don't do because it's not convenient. It's not profitable right away, right? It doesn't get you 10 new students, but over time, everybody I've seen, right? Whether it was Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, different people, they all have some type of mentor. They all have these systems and checks and balances that help them. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but nonetheless, they're aware, they're conscious, that my mind is the biggest muscle on my body. And the way I talk to myself on a daily basis will make or break that, right? But your mind will play tricks on you. This is classic, and please don't take this wrong. Don't look at me wrong. It's just the one popping up in my head right now, right? If my wife ever said to me, and she never has because she's very disciplined, do I look fat in these jeans? My better question would be, what do you think? I'm not getting in trouble. I say, what do you think? Right? Because you're the one that's got to wear them. You're the one that's got to feel good in them. Doesn't matter what I think. What do you think? Negative self-talk will ask people because they don't want to be accountable. Who's ever done that one? Me? We all have. So that's another thing, when we talk about being aware so I can choose a better response to it is crucial. Awareness is one thing, but how we respond to it is even bigger. And I'm blessed to say the average tenure of my team now is going on 15 years because I'm very aware of who they are. I'm very aware of how to speak to them. I'm very aware of how they like to be appreciated, right? I'm very aware, and I'm constantly making inroads to better that. Because who TJ was at 20 is not who he is in his 30s now. Now he's married with, 2 kids. So that awareness has been vital to my personal growth in everything that I do. When you discipline your self-talk, your confidence grows, your leadership strengthens, and your decisions become clearer. So I spend a lot of time with that self-talk because going back to what I said in the beginning, you are the only person that makes the decisions when the day's done. You know that. And if it's coming from negative self-talk, you'll always make poor decisions, right? We know we're going to make bonehead moves in our business and bad decisions all the time. We just do. That's part of being in business. But I want to make better decisions. Cool. The business you build will always rise or fall to the level of the story you believe about yourself. That's it. And when I stood on that stage at Harvard, I believe I said, Before I got up here to talk today, I went through imposter syndrome, right? You guys are here at Harvard. You're Harvard professors. I don't even have a degree. And then I went, you know what I do have? I have the life experience, the business experience to share with you what has got me to where I'm standing today. Wow. Woo. Last September, I went to Harvard, met up with two, and sat in on business classes. Again, imposter syndrome galore, right? But once I checked that negative self-talk, it was the best experience I possibly could have had, right? Being at Harvard. So understand that. You make and break your business every day. And the story that you tell, I'm going to advise you, choose it carefully, craft it with precision. And that story, that is your life. That story that you wake up to every day and tell yourself is vital to your happiness and success. All right, I want to open it up. I want your thoughts. I want your comments. What are your big takeaways today? And while you put your comments in there, let's start taking care of this part, Marco. Let's thank our sponsors for today. But I'm going to stay with you guys, okay? I'm going to stay with you because I want your thoughts, please. Super important. Tusaw, it's who we get the majority of our uniforms and belts and different things from. Someone asked me, do you know where to get custom belts? Yeah, go to Tusaw. They'll do custom belts. Market Muscles, they just made another upgrade to their platform, and it's AI driven. I think we need to be mindful of how to leverage AI to help us, but not believe that it's going to be Terminator, especially in our business. People need human connections. That's why doubling down on the emotional intelligence of yourself and your team, I think is crucial, very crucial, because you're not some AI conversation that's driven, data driven. No. That human connection, powerful. So investing in things that will promote emotional intelligence, teaching your team how to work with kids today, post-pandemic, who technology kids know nothing else, right? Please. Super powerful. Market Muscles is leading the way because they understand AI can manage certain tasks, which allow me to do the other things, right? And it's really true because it does. I leverage AI to the best of my ability and then some. My studio, two in the gang there, CRM system. I love what they do, and they've had a huge impact. Kids love life skills. If you don't have some type of life skill component in your school and not just some made up thing that you chat GPT or you paint discipline on the wall, something with substance like Kids Love Life Skills, and there's other ones out there, then you're missing the boat. I need parents to view me as an investment for what we do, an investment. But again, it's cumbersome. It requires you to be uncomfortable, learning child psychology, learning life skills, learning that they're age appropriate, skill level. It requires a lot. But if you can do that, people will see you as an investment, not an extracurricular activity. Make that investment with Kids Love Life Skills. LC Accounting, my sister Letitia, has kept me on the straight and narrow for decades now. She's awesome at what she does. She's a martial artist. She gets us, and she's very disciplined in her thinking. And she has saved people a lot of money and from spending. All right. Kid Creative, as I write scripts for them and we do graphics and the different things, I'm just in awe of how it's helped me hone my own personal brand message for my schools and Kids Love Life Skills and for its time. The results we're getting for school owners are phenomenal because messaging is the key. Some of you are doing that well. James, I love your personal social media posts more and more. It seems like you're getting more clear on your purpose. You're more clear on your brand. And more important, the brand message you want to serve, right, to the public. Super important. I think the goal for myself is to be consistent in all of that I do. And I work with all 6 of these companies. They're involved in my businesses, and I think they have a huge impact on our success. Cool. So come on, nobody put it in there. What are your big takeaways today? Right? Are we pulling back the covers a little bit there? One day, I've done this talk before, and after I want to just go into the corner in a fetal position and suck my thumb. I do, because I feel very vulnerable. I feel very exposed. I feel very incompetent. And I feel, again, the imposter syndrome, all these things come up. Because if you're going to discuss positive self talk, the yin to the yang of that is you need to acknowledge and be aware of your negative self talk. Nobody wants to go through imposter syndrome. Well, recognize and acknowledge that, right? All of it. So I think that's the challenge about this subject and this type of work. But again, the impact it's had on my personal life and my business and growth and bottom line has been phenomenal. And I'm so blessed to be able to do this work. Anybody want to add a takeaway before we wrap this up? What you've learned today, what you're going to take action on? Come on. This is a replay. I would watch this show again and again and again. I think each time you do on a personal level, you'll peel back another layer. You'll get something amazing out of it. And so I highly recommend you watch this one again and again. Again, the reason people don't like this subject because they don't see instant gratification. They don't want to be vulnerable, right? They don't want to live with the shame and the guilt and the self-doubt and everything that comes with being aware of your negative self-talk. Because I can only turn a negative to a positive through awareness and through doing the real work. Cool? All right, Marco, let's tell them about our It's Time group mentoring. It's a different group. I love the work we're doing. We've produced an environment that's more economical for people because we want to reach more school owners. Me and the team are active school owners, right? No better, no worse. We're in the trenches like you every day. And I believe the success we're helping people obtain is because they know they can trust us. We don't sit in a glass house, right? Oh, thank you, James. I'll talk about it in a minute. We don't sit in a glass house and just hypothesize. We don't live in 80s rhetoric of what people did with contracts and upgrades and scripts. We're really digging deep in real time what's happening today to give you real information based upon real data and us getting results in our own schools. Cool? We have It's Time Live United. That's our next one. United, not divided, I think is more important as a whole, right? In the climate that we're in, but even more so in the martial arts industry. There's so many splinter groups now, right? We don't have the big super show. We don't have this big group of people trying to connect. It's small splintered groups, small cells. And so United is the thing. 20 school owners, 4 days, eat good, network, cry, grow, and really walk away with good information that you can get out there, get out there. Yeah, you're very welcome, James. Yep. Keep working at it. And then, of course, it should get you results, right? Because you got AI out there now trolling all the algorithms. And if your social media matches your Google business page, matches your website, matches everything you produce, when they come into the school, that is going to help. It's the small things. It's the small things like that. And being consistent in your brand messaging and social media, James, is phenomenal. Yeah, discipline and routine. I wake up every morning, and one of my core values I live and die by is gratitude. That's why people are just like perplexed. When somebody quits, you say thank you. Yeah, because I'm grateful if you stayed a month. I'm grateful if you never signed up. I'm grateful if you're here for 10 years. I'm grateful when you leave, because gratitude is a core value that drives our business, and we are grateful people. You with me? So that part is very, very important, and it's something we cultivate every day. Because you can't live your best life if you're not a grateful person. Oh, there you go. There's our brand message, and we back it up with good core values. So yeah, gratitude is a big one for me. Any other takeaways? No? All right. So where can they find me, Marco? All the social media platforms. Go back and watch every episode on YouTube of Success Never Sleeps, or listen to the podcast on Apple, Amazon, Spotify. They're there. If you get a daily dose of what I've done over the past decade, you'll be wildly successful, because in there's got to be at least 5% that you can take and apply and run with and do a lot. So subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me at Instagram. Cool. For everything else, just simply go to brandonbeliso.com. I want to thank you for choosing to be here today and sharing your valuable time with me. I know this is a hard one because it's very cerebral, but I watch people blindly spend money and do things from negative self-talk subconsciously they don't even see exists. I want to make better choices. I want to live a better life. I recognize the self-talk for me has to be honest, has to be rooted in humility, has to be a disciplined mindset, and one that I believe in with all my heart. Cool? All right. Hey, I'm Brandon Beliso. This is Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, I wish you all the best. You go out there, live your best life.